Hello everyone. How are you guys doing? Everything going well? Hi. Great. So are you guys excited for today's session? Any expectations or anything new from your side? Yeah, excited. So before starting the session, I will inform you about all those things that we are going to do and how the session is going to be organized. So first of all, I introduce myself. I am Aniket Koul and I am rated 1852 at Code Forces and I am an ICPC regionalist. So I'll be hosting today's session. Now, today's session you can classify it into two parts. So the first part will be a presentation where I'll be sharing some tips and tricks which I feel are the most important for you to give your 100% in contest. And the second part will be a Q&A session where you can ask your doubts and everything. So it would be better if everybody could mute themselves and also close their
वो
videos.
आवाज बंद कर
That would be great. Okay, great. So is everybody ready? So we can start then. I'll share my profile, yes. At the end of the session, I'll share my profile. And at the end of session, I'll also share you a feedback form, which you can fill as to how you felt today's session was. And that could help us organize more sessions like this in the future. So let's begin then. I'll share my screen. We can start. I hope my screen is visible. You can put up a thumbs up or yes in the chat would be good. Yeah, thank you. So let's start with my presentation. Great. So today's presentation will be about contest tips and tricks. Now, in the beginning, I would like to give you a friendly
कोई
disclaimer. Nothing as such.
प्रोग्रामिंग
Uh, as I said earlier, it would be great if you could mute yourselves. No issue about that then. So the disclaimer is just that I want you to know that these tips and tricks work only when you have a strong CP foundation. So uh, just a second, let me mute them all. Okay. So these tips and tricks work good only when you have a strong foundation in competitive programming. By foundation, I mean that your problem solving skills are good enough to solve that problem. Now, how do you build those problem solving skills? Again, you have enrolled for TLE Eliminators, and the educators are there to help you for this. This session only helps you to give you 100%. So, what I mean by 100% is the performance that you would expect out of yourself as you would perform in your practice questions or even in your virtual contests. So trying to give that performance in contest is often very challenging. Uh, yes, sorry for the interruption. I was saying that it is always challenging to perform as good as practice in contest because of various factors. But again, we are here to help you with this. Okay. Uh, People are unmuting themselves again and again. No problem. So now let's start with the actual tips. So I thought to divide all those tips into three categories: before the contest, during the contest, and after the contest. As somebody could ask me that why only three, or why these three, why not only one? So this is because you can take a contest like a race. So it's not like you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is run a race. You warm up first of all, you get ready, and then you start running. So same goes for a contest. It is very difficult to perform your best if you're not ready. And what I mean by ready is I'll discuss in the further tips. So let's start with before the contest. So in before the contest, I would say the most important part is not getting nervous. Again, it is always easier said than done. Not getting nervous is in itself a very challenging task. Now, how could you help yourself with not getting nervous is first of all having self confidence. And again, that self confidence comes through practice. If you build that practice, if you know that you can solve div 2As, div 2Bs, div 2Cs in practice, that gives you the confidence that in contest as well, you would be able to solve them. And that relieves the nervousness a bit. Again, it is also about experience. When you are new to computer programming, everything feels a bit weird. Everything feels similar to the JE part which you did in your 11th and 12th. So obviously it brings out some of the PTSDs and you feel that it is very tensed. But as you experience more and more contests and as you practice, it goes down. Again, another important factor is keeping your heart rate in control. What you can do is you can practice some breathing exercises, which should help you to keep your heart rate in control. Because when you panic, it reduces your ability to uh, think properly. In other words, your critical thinking ability decreases, and that is the single most important thing while solving problems. So you would not want to get nervous at any point before the contest, and even the contest when the contest starts, you don't want to get nervous even then. There are times when you get nervous, but we'll discuss those parts as well when we go to that section. The second part comes to getting your tools ready. So most of us use VS Code. So for me personally, my VS Code is a bit laggy in the start. So what I try to do is I try to boot it up around 5 minutes before the contest starts and run some random file so that everything gets up and running. And when I actually start coding, it does not lag or jitter in between. The last part for me is getting to the website. And again, codeforces.com, sometimes it crashes. So what I do is I also open m2.codeforces.com if you have heard of it, because whenever anything crashes or it is laggy, they even show notification that you could log on to m2.codeforces. So that helps a lot because those sites don't have that heavy UI. So they are much less likely to crash. And whenever there is some issue with the main website, you can submit your solutions there as well. Okay. So now let's move on to the next section, which is during the contest. Now, this section I thought to divide it into four parts: steady start, preconception or misconception, intuition, a double-edged sword, and time management. So let's start with our first section, that is steady start. Now, I would like to ask you, how many of you get nervous during Div 2A or Div 3A, thinking that I need to start fast? If I was not able to solve it within 2 minutes or 3 minutes, then I'm lagging behind. And because of that, you often miss some edge cases or do some silly implementation mistake and you get a WA verdict on the first problem itself. So I can see quite a few plus ones here. So yes, it used to happen with me as well. Sometimes even now it happens, but the best way to overcome it is playing on the merit of the problem. Try to think it in this way that it is a div 2A. Now, if you were coding it during practice, how would you treat it? Try to treat it in the same way. Again, for all these tips, I would say it is easier said than done. But over time, you need to incorporate these practices while giving contests. And after some time, these become your second nature. So again, you don't need to think that I don't want to get nervous for Div 2A. But for the first few times, yes, you would have to keep it in your mind. But after a few attempts, it becomes your second nature. And then you kind of become chill that, yes, I don't need to worry. It's just a simple problem. Even if I have to spend 2, 3 minutes extra on solving it and ensuring that my solution is correct, that is fine. Instead of going full blast and then getting a wrong answer verdict. Yeah. Now, the next part I would like to talk about is very interesting part, and this is one of the most common mistakes everyone makes. So it's not on the beginner level; it even happens in the intermediate level. So just read this problem. Okay, try to read it like you would do in a contest. So what we do in a contest is we see the problem statement name, we read the first few lines, and we try to bring up a solution. We try to force a solution. So I found this problem quite interesting. So the story behind this problem was I was giving a virtual contest a few days back, and I solved the A and B problems. And while I was still on the dashboard page, I saw this problem name, and I tried to force a solution just on the problem name. So just let me unmute. Yeah, I would request you to please mute your mics when you're joining because that causes disturbance. I would not like to break the flow. Yeah. So try to read this problem statement and uh, write in the chat what's the first thing that comes to your mind just by reading the first few lines. Yeah. So some of you, like me, are saying DP. So when I first read this problem, it was the same for me, recursion DP, recursion DP. But then I read the next line and it was this. Try to read this and especially the thing in bold. Now, how many of you still think it is DP? It could be. Yes, it could be DP. No issue. So some of you are
There are
into
several
brute
possible
force.
items of items. Sorry, sorry.
Yeah. So it could be DP, it could not be DP. Some people are saying greedy. So I read this part and the DP logic was kind of vanishing away. But then the shock came when I read the constraints. So these were the constraints. N was 2 into n power 5 and W was up to 10 power 18. So if you have a preconception in mind, then it causes a lot of trouble because whoever are familiar with DP, so if, even if you're not, it's not an issue, but people who are familiar with DP were thinking of a solution in the time complexity of n into W. So what you can see here, that logic will never work here because the constraints are just too big for that logic. But now people like me, they have a preconception in mind that this is DP because they just read through the problem statement, not even the constraints, the first few lines, and they just jump into their IDE and start coding. And then when they run the test cases, the sample test cases are passing. Why? Because the constraints are too small there. But when you submit it, time limit exceeded on test two, and now you're in panic mode. Why did this happen? And now you are going into the constraints and seeing this. So that blanks out your mind. So that is quite dangerous. So to prevent this, what we do is for people who don't know, this is called preconception. So preconception is basically without having proper information about the subject, you're just trying to form up a idea or trying to judge the solution based on very limited knowledge. So here what I did was, here I did not properly go through the problem. I did not understand what the problem was trying to find. I just was trying to force a solution. Why? Because I want to solve it quickly. So now to prevent this, what can you do? The first thing is read the problem statement properly and go through the constraints because constraints most of the times are a very good measure to estimate what kind of solution can you give. Now, obviously, if I would have read this problem correctly and I would have seen the constraints, then that DP solution would have been rejected in the blink of an eye. So that's what we need to do. Another thing is that what I try to do is because I have done a bit of problem setting, not the rated contest on code forces, but again unrated contests for my college and some few gym contests as well, which are global. So what I to try to do now is try to think how would a problem setter think. So if I was the problem setter, what would I do to make the problem more interesting or more difficult for the person to solve? Now, don't take it on the face value. Try to break down this problem into simpler language. What would you get? So try to remove these fancy words like knapsack and capacity and try to break it down into simpler terms. So the problem that you're trying to force into a knapsack came out to be a simple greedy problem. So this is what happens most of the times. And this is a quite famous trick that problem setters use to kind of bulk the rating of a problem. So even a 1200 rated problem, if you are framing it in a way that it becomes confusing or it misdirects the person's thoughts, it can easily go plus 100 plus 200 in rating. That's not an issue. So always try to read the problem and try to break it down into smaller parts and then form a judgment about what the problem could be. Now, this trick is also very common with binary search questions. So, uh, what happens usually in binary search is you have to just prove that the function on which you're running the binary search is monotonic or it is strictly increasing or strictly decreasing. So, most of the times, the problem setter tries to manipulate you into thinking that the function is not monotonic, but it is. So it is very important to do your maths, to think properly and not fall into this trap of just reading few lines of the problem and forming a solution quickly just because you want to get away with it as fast as possible. So most of the problems, again, I would say in contest are caused because you want to get ahead of yourselves and try to force a solution before it is ready. Always try to avoid it. Always be laid back and let the solutions in your brain form, let it properly align with your thoughts, and then you start coding. Coding is the last part, and I would say coding is the easiest part while solving a problem. The most difficult part is trying to come up with a solution. So the more time you spend on your pen and paper, the less time you have to spend on your VS Code. So that is how I try to uh, treat myself while solving a problem, that it is not an issue to spend an extra 5 minutes on finding a mathematically correct solution. It would be better to do that than spending extra 20 minutes thinking while coding. So that is very dangerous. If you believe me, thinking and coding at the same time lead to logical errors as well as implementation errors. So you might have experienced this with yourselves as well. Quite silly mistakes. You have a for loop running from n to 1 and then you do I plus plus, and then when you run their sample test cases, it is just going into infinite loop and then you have to debug your whole solution and comment everything one by one and check where the infinite loop is running. So these silly mistakes are caused when you're trying to think in two different directions at once. You're trying to form a logic as well as you're trying to code. So it might seem fast at first that, oh, I did not spend much time while forming a solution. Just after 2 minutes, I was able to start coding. But then once you started coding, you are there stuck on that same position for half an hour, thinking, would it work? Coding it, and then coming up with a test case which does not work on this, and then you have to clear it up all again and again, do it repeatedly, and that takes up a lot of time, believe me. And in contest, you won't be able to judge how quickly time goes. So currently it is only an half an hour passed by and you started coding a problem. You thought you got the logic, but then you don't have the logic, started coding, and by the time you actually come up with the logic, 1 hour is gone. So that happens a lot. And that happens because you're trying to force a solution, not thinking till the end before coding. Yeah. So this was one of these problems which I found quite interesting, and you might have experienced this as well with other problems. So try to avoid this. This is one of my most important tips. And then intuition. So intuition is one of the most controversial topics, I would say, because some people say intuition is very good. You should always rely on your intuition. And some people say intuition is not good because then it makes you lazy. Actually, it does not promote problem solving. It is just that the first thing that comes in your mind, you code it, and if it works, it works. And if it does not work, then you go for trial and error method. You come up with another intuition, code it again, it's a wrong answer, come up with another intuition. So most of the times the people are biased towards the extreme ends. They say intuition is very good or intuition is very bad, but I try to find a middle ground. So, what I try to promote is that intuition is good when you use it as guiding light. So, what I mean by guiding light is, let's say you read a problem completely. So, there is no preconception, as mentioned earlier. And the first thing that comes to your mind is, let's say, binary search again. So now, what do you need to do to confirm that it's binary search? You can write in the chats as well. So, what would be the first thing that you would do if your intuition says binary search? Yes. So, prove monotonicity. So, that is correct. So, if your predicate function, as Hariom mentioned, is monotonic, that means that you can run a binary search on it. Now some people are saying dry run or test one. So I used to do that as well. I have to say I was guilty of that. Uh, for div2 A and B, it usually works. So that is another trick that you can take, but take it with a pinch of salt because it can go wrong as well. So usually it works for div2 A and B, but div2 C's, and after that the test cases are quite misleading. So the test case is just so that you can understand what the problem setter is asking you to do, but other than that, they won't reveal the actual algorithm in the test cases. So div2 C's, usually you won't be able to solve them with the sample test case one until and unless it is based on some observation and not on an algorithm. So what you would do, as many of you have said, is prove monotonicity. So that is what I would like to suggest to you is, once you get an intuition, try to prove it to yourself that yes, it works. Now, if I would try to explain it in mathematical terms, I would say there are two types of problems or two types of, you would say, algorithms. Some algorithms work only for specific cases. So you could say that you need to only prove that there exists a case where it works. And in some type of questions, you need to form an algorithm which should work for all type of cases. So there you would say that for all cases, it works. So for the second type, where you say for all, just proving it for a single test case doesn't work. Because when you say you're proving it just for a single test case, you are trying to prove that there exists condition. So these are completely different. There exists and for all. For all says that for every value in my domain, it should work. So just by proving it for one value in the domain, you can't prove the correctness of algorithm. So that you need to keep in mind. You need to generalize your solution, not just take a single test case, dry run it, and say it works. You need to generalize your solution. And if a generalized solution works, that means you have landed on a correct solution. And then you can start coding it. So here, intuition helps a lot because it fastens up your process to eliminate or select an algorithm. Now, let's say this was one case where you got an intuition, you proved it, it came out to be correct, and yes, now I can use it. But there is another case where, let's say, you got an intuition and it did not work. So what do you do now? You go back to square one. You try to read the problem statement again. Try to see if there are some hints. So type of hints are, let's say, in the constraints they say that all the values in the array lie between 1 and n, where n is the size of the array. So that means uh, you could use something like a frequency array, or you could iterate over the values quite easily because the range would be smaller than if the values were from 1 to 1e9. So sometimes that is a hint. Or sometimes a value is extremely small. Let's say you have n and k goes only from 1 to 100. So that could be uh, an hint. Or sometimes they say that you can only perform at max log of n operations. So if they say log of n operations, that itself means you could do something similar to a binary search. Not always, but most of the times that works as well. So try to read the problem statement again. Try to find those little clues in the problem, and naturally another intuition develops. And this has to be repeated. So I would suggest practice, 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 because intuition is something that develops over time. So when you are new to competitive programming, your intuition is not that good. So what happens usually when you are a beginner is that it used to happen with me was the latest topic that I studied. Let's say I studied binary search. So now every problem, the first thing that comes to mind is binary search. And if I study DP, then everything seems DP to me. So does that happen with you as well? So I would like to know your opinions on this, because it used to happen with me. Yes, it happens with many of you as well. So when you are in the beginner stage, it happens because you're quite excited to learn a new algorithm. And for me, I would use to force every solution to DP, and then every time I used to get a time limit exceeded. So it happens a lot. But your intuition also develops over time as you practice more and more. As you see a lot of variety in the problems, your intuition becomes a lot more foolproof. But again, I would not suggest you to always completely depend on your intuition, because there are many tricks that problem setters play. As I mentioned there, the preconception part. So these can many times mess with your intuition, because you have a preconceived mind. You think that it's an intuition, but it is just a preconception. So you won't be able to differentiate between the two. So always I would suggest you have an intuition which will help you to quickly get to a solution or a proposed solution, and then to select it or reject it based on a mathematical proof. Always it does not need to be mathematical. It can be based on some observation that yes, it will work, and you just need to make an informal proof to yourself that yes, I'm satisfied, and this solution will work for all values in the domain the problem is based. So if you are able to prove this, then yes, your intuition was correct, and then you can move the coding part. So this is how I think is the most optimal method at our phases where we are not on the grandmaster's level. And as you progress forward, your intuition becomes better. In the starting, it may not be good, but it develops naturally. It's a natural thing to develop. And in the subconscious mind, as you practice more and more, you'll notice that your cells, your intuition is getting better. And sometimes it is very, you could say, greedy of you to in contests especially, that you got an intuition and just I need to code it as quickly as possible, because if I get it correct, then I'll get a very good rank. So you get greedy sometimes, but you need to keep in mind that that is not a great practice to have, even if it works most of the times. Because why are you doing competitive programming? The main reason you're doing competitive programming is to build your problem solving skills. And just running off an intuition is not a great way to build it. So it might work on one platform, but it might not work on the platforms. And as a whole, I would say it is not a very good way of treating yourself. And again, another point that I would like to make is the way you treat the problems in practice is the way you will treat the problems in contest. So that is natural. You won't be able to change it in contest. It does not happen that, oh, I will take it lightly. I will only solve intuition based problems in practice, and suddenly in contest, I will be able to prove it. So keep in mind the way you want to solve a problem or treat a problem in contest is the same way you need to treat it in practice, because that is how you build a habit of solving problems. So always keep that in mind. Now let's move on to the last part. That's time management. So again, I would like to get your thoughts on it. So for me, when I was in my pupil or even specialist phase, so many a times I would miss my div to C just because I could not manage my time properly. So does this happen with you too as well? That you got the logic and you are almost done with the solution, and then suddenly uh, time is up. So that might happen with div 2 Bs as well with you, or div 2 Cs, depends on your level. So yes, it happens. So thankfully I was not alone. So it used to be one of the worst feelings that I would have. And till this date, that is the single most thing I fear. Because if I was not able to come up to a solution, then I can console myself, okay, I was not good enough and I need to practice more, and then maybe I would be able to solve the problem. But I have the solution, but I just missed it because I did not have enough time. That is the worst feeling that I personally had in my CP journey. So how would you not have that feeling? So the most important thing is practicing under time constraint. So as you would do in your JE phase, you would give mock rounds and everything that would help you manage your time better. So in code forces especially, we call that virtual contests. So you can go to any contest dashboard, and on the right hand side you would have a start virtual contest button. So you can, what a virtual contest is basically, for the people who don't know, is that it will give you the same feeling as if the contest just started. So the leaderboard also updates according to the time. So it runs a snapshot kind of how it ran originally in the contest, and it is kind of a rerun of the contest but only for you. So that gives you a nice marking factor, and you can test yourself that how much time do you take for div 2 A's, div 2 B's, and then how much time do you have usually left for div 2 C's. So even in div 3 div 4s, because in div 2, so okay, three or four problems are the usual amount that you solve. Even when you cross the specialist and you reach the expert phase, 3 to 4 problems is usually the amount you solve in div 2s. But in div 3 div 4s especially in div 4s, in the later stages you will be capable of solving the entire problem set. You will have that level. The only thing you'll be lacking is the quickness to solve it, because you'll have 8 to 9 problems and solving them within 2.5 hours will be really a challenge. So in those phases especially, it helps a lot. Time management helps a lot. So I would suggest you to give virtual contests of div 3s. So I found that to be the best, because div 3s are quite easy, and div 2s you don't have so many problems to maintain your time. So div 3s are the perfect balance, because they have some logical problems. They have some problems which are implementation heavy, which will take a lot of time to code. And then at the same time, you have a large number of problems that you can solve. So it is, according to me, the perfect combination. So try to, like, what I did was, almost every div 3 I used to, which I have not attempted in the past, obviously, I used to give a virtual contest. So that helped me improve my speed and maintain my time much better, because then I can time myself that yes, I need to do div 2A within this time, div 2B within this time, div 2C within this time. And another important thing which I would like to share with you is when everything goes well, it is very important. It is very easy to maintain your time. Yes, uh, div 2A got accepted within one try. Div 2B got accepted within one try. Div 2C accepted within one try. Over. But the problem comes, let's say div 2A and suddenly you got a wrong answer. Now, it may happen that your logic was almost correct, you just missed the edge case, but the sheer pressure of getting a wrong answer on test 1 on div 2A or wrong answer on test 2, especially on div 2A, is very huge. So, in that case, time management becomes more important because now you have to make an important decision. Do you go back to your approach and try to debug it, or do you just hit Control A backspace, remove all the code, and start coding again? So this is a very important decision that you need to make. Again, there is no single source of truth as to say that what you should do. It always depends on the current situation. Now, if you think the code is small enough that you can debug it, yes, go ahead. But if the code is 100 lines, 200 lines long, so then you might need to think what you need to do in that situation. So it always depends on you. How confident are you feeling about your logic and your implementation? If you're quite sure that your logic is correct, your implementation is correct, it was just an edge case that I missed, or it was a silly mistake that I did, yes, you can go ahead and debug. But if you're not that sure about your logic, let's say you made a mistake of going on your intuition, you just randomly got a thought, you coded it, and you got wrong as in test two, then you would prefer more to just erase the whole code, try to come up with the correct logic this time, and then code it. So it depends on you how you do it. Again, it is different for everyone. So I would suggest you to give virtual contest, because virtual contest is the only place outside your contest where you actually get tensed after getting a wrong answer. In practice, you get frustrated. If you get a wrong answer, you just get frustrated. "Arey yaar, why did I get a wrong answer?" And then you try to think of another approach. But in contest, it is a bit different. You get nervous. So getting frustrated and getting nervous are, quite different. So to get that feeling of getting nervous, you can only get it outside contest in virtual contests. So try to give it. If you have not given it before, you can start, and you will notice a change in yourself, a change in yourself in a sense of how you approach a mistake. Let's say you got a wrong answer. Now, how do you approach? So initially, what I used to do was I used to panic a lot, and I used to say to myself, I committed a mistake. Div 2A, I got a wrong answer. And then now this contest is finished. Whatever I do, I will definitely get a negative delta. And I used to get quite tense. And even if the question was quite easy to solve, I would just mess it up all over. But over time, as you practice, as I practiced, what happens is you develop that maturity that yes, I did some error because of which I got a wrong answer, but then it is not at the end of the world. I can get over it. I can correct my logic or get a new logic. And uh, if my performance is good enough, I can get a positive delta. I just need to do my best. Whatever happened, happened. I need to move forward. So that is the approach you need to have. And that approach has to come by itself. You won't be able to force it. So you are actually very nervous and you're trying to force on yourself, yes, yes, nothing will happen, nothing will happen. That doesn't help. So it has to come from within, and that happens only through practice. So you can train your mind only through practice, and that practice, the best source of that practice is virtual contests. So I would suggest you to give virtual contests. That is the single most important thing in your time management journey. So I think uh, you are with me till now. Okay. In the chats, I was not following the chats, and I think something else is going on the chats. No issues. If you have any doubts, you can write in the chat. I would be checking it every time. So yeah. And if you have some doubts, you can keep them for later, because after this, we'll have a Q&A session where you can write your doubts in the chat, or you can unmute yourself as well, and I will be happy to help. So now let's move forward to the next part, which is after the contest. Now, your contest should not be one and done. That I did the contest, now whatever happened, happened, and now you're just going to sleep and saying, looking forward to the next contest. And I did not learn anything from the previous contest. So that is a very bad habit. And I would say I am guilty of it, of doing that for a long time. And that actually hindered my progress for a lot of time before I realized that this is not the correct approach of doing it. So I would like to again ask you, how many of you see the editorial of the problem that you were not able to solve during contest? So let's say you were able to solve uh, two problems in Div 2. So do you see the editorial of Div 2C that is released? Yes. Most people say yes, some people say no. So there is no issue. Initially, during my first 10, 15 contest, I wouldn't used to care. I was like, if I was able to solve the contest, it is good. If I was not, leave it. I will do better in the next contest. So that is not actually a good habit. So what I would suggest, my top three tips for you would be, first is to upsolve. So for the people who know what upsolve is, great. For people who don't know, upsolve means, let's say you are able to solve four problems in a contest. Now, given that there were more than four problems, try to solve one extra problem. So try to solve the fifth problem. Now, I would suggest you to initially, if you have not tried it during the contest, try it without the use of tutorial. Try to sit on it for half an hour, 1 hour, maybe the amount of time that you can devote. And then if you are able to solve it, that's well and good. That will boost your confidence that yes, I could do better and I will do better next time. And even if you are not able to solve it, refer the tutorial, or in TLE, we even have post-contest discussions where we discuss the approaches of most of the problems that you would be interested in solving. So you can attend that as well. And that will teach you various tips and tricks again regarding specific algorithms, how you could how you could approach that problem, that it would become easier for you to solve. And again, if you upsolve, the biggest benefit is it is a confidence booster, because most of the times when you upsolve, you see the logic and then you are like, I could do that. If I
Mm.
would have enough time, I would be able to do that. So that is a confidence booster. So let's say it was a 1800 rated problem. So usually you won't dare touch 1800. So I used to do that when I was a pupil or a specialist. I would never touch a 1800 rated problem, even in practice. But once I started up solving, even if a div 2D is 1800, I would see the tutorial and sometimes I would be like, yes, it was doable. Some of the observation was quite nice. I was not able to come up with it myself. But if I would have come up with that observation, the coding part was easy. So yes, if I develop problem solving skills, solving 1800 rated problems is not much far away. So that will happen with you too as well. So you can start up solving, and that will build your confidence. And again, as I said, not to panic in contests. And I said that having self confidence is very important to not panic. And this is one of the biggest confidence booster. Apart from building confidence, it also gives you exposure to new algorithms. Let's say you saw a problem, you tried to solve it, you didn't get it, you saw the tutorial, and it mentioned a new algorithm. And let's say if you knew that algorithm, the problem was quite easy to solve. So then it gives you a renewed motivation to learn that problem or learn that algorithm. So now you know that if I knew that algorithm, I would be able to solve it. And in the future as well, there could be a problem in the same position which would use the same algorithm. So it is better that I learn it. So that it gives you another motivation. And as I said, attend post contest discussions. So according to me, this is one of the best part of TLEs, that you have post contest discussions. Now it is very important to attend it, even if you have solved the uh, even if you solve the entire problem set, let's say. So there is a case where you solve the entire problem set, attend it. Why? Because I will come to that point later also. It is very important to see other approaches of solving a problem as well, because those approaches may help you in solving other type of problems. So let's say you are able to solve a problem using an algorithm, but somebody else solved that problem with a nice observation, which drastically reduced the code or the number of steps that you need to do. So it is never a bad thing to see another approach after the contest. It will always help you, and it will like broaden your scope. So yes, I thought this problem was only possible through DP, but some person has solved it also using greedy. So then you can treat it as a template that these type of problems are both solvable by DP and greedy. So if you have not seen a person solving it using greedy, you won't be able to deduce it using yourself. So that is a very important part, attending post contest discussions, because you'll have many like-minded people there also, and a person who has a whole new scope or whole new point of view of solving that problem. So it is very great. And learn new concepts. So obviously, if you're not able to solve a problem, you just see what algorithm it uses. If you don't know that algorithm, try to learn it, because again, learning a new thing is never a bad thing. Always try to learn new things, because that is how you will move forward. You need to make a great balance between practice and new concepts. So I would say till expert phase as well, practice is the most important, because even div 2 Cs are mostly implementation based or binary search, sometimes DP. But learning new concepts is also important, because life is not only div 2 ABC. It is much bigger than that. Let's say your goal is to qualify for ICPC. So in ICPC, your DP needs to be strong. And sometimes they also ask some advanced algorithms. So it is always good to know algorithms, but at the same time, it is always important to practice the ones that you know, because just knowing an algorithm will never help you solve a problem until you have enough practice. So that is the biggest difference, I would say, between lead code and code forces. Lead code, knowing an algorithm helps you a lot. 30 to 40% of the problems are solvable just by knowing the algorithm and not going too deep. But on code forces, most of the times you won't be able to solve a problem just because you know that concept. Until and unless you have practiced a lot on that algorithm, you won't be able to solve the large variety of problems that code forces offers. So I always suggest practice, practice, practice. Practice is the single most important thing that will help you improve your problem solving skills and also your rating. So always practice and just keep practicing. So that's what I would say. And another thing. So this was another question that many people asked me in person as well in my college also, and even my peers. And I used to ask this to my seniors and people who are more experienced than me, that how many contests should I attend? So again, there is no single source of truth that you need to attempt these many problems. There is no single value. This I would like to explain to you using an analogy. So those of you who have completed your second year would know this concept called thrashing. So you don't need to just know this concept. This is basically a concept from operating systems. So uh, if I would explain it in simple terms, is what the CPU tries to do. It tries to handle a lot of processes at once. So it would say that I need to have all these processes. So I can take one, and whenever this process is not computationally heavy, I can remove it and take another process. So I need to do many things at once, but at the same time, I need to improve my efficiency. So efficiency improves when the CPU is not idle. So what the CPU tries to do is I need to do too many things at once. And initially the utilization, that means efficiency increases. It increases, increases, increases. And after some point of time, it starts to drop because you're trying to do too many processes at once. There are a lot of page faults and you're not able to improve your efficiency, and instead of doing good, it is doing more harm. So the same thing you could say goes for us humans, that yes, I need to give as many contests as possible so that I can improve myself. But again, I need to make sure that I don't burn myself out. That is the most important thing, because your critical thinking also depends on how fresh you feel. So let's say you're going to college, you go to college, come back, give a contest, sleep. Again, next morning, go to college, come back, give contest, sleep. And this goes on for weeks and weeks together. So after some point of time, you will definitely feel burnt out. So I think most of you would have felt this way. So you could you could say that you could put a thumbs up or a plus one if you have felt this way before, that you just don't want to give contests no more, and your problem thinking ability is kind of dipping, and you're not able to come up with simpler observations. Your implementation is going too big, like the code that you were able to solve in 10, 15 lines, you are taking 30, 40, 50 lines to solve it. So I think that has happened with some people, and it happened with me, and it still happens with me. So the most important thing is knowing yourself, because you are your best big judge. You need to judge yourself, that am I feeling good enough to give a contest? Am I feeling fresh enough to give a contest? Is my performance really dropping from continuously from past few contests? Am I burning myself out? If the answer is yes, you can give yourself a break. It is not a sin to take a break. You can keep practicing, but you can say that I won't give contests, because again, contests take a lot more toll on your brain and your mental health than practicing. So you can keep practicing, but you can say that for the next few days, I won't give some contests and I will take a break. And you will see 9 out of 10 times that your problem solving ability has improved. It is not like you have gained some subconscious algorithms. It is just that you feel much more fresh, and the logics come more free flowingly. So you are able to solve problems faster. So for people who go to the gym, because recently I started going to the gym, I read it about few professional bodybuilders as well. They used to say that in every 2 to 3 months, I used to take 1 week off. Now, it might seem counterintuitive to many people, but taking a week off after 2, 3 months actually builds muscle. It does not decrease muscle, because your body gets the time to repair all the broken fibers. And after a week, you actually come back stronger. So that is also the case with competitive programming, that yes, if you're feeling burnt out, don't put much stress on yourself. Yes, you can take a break. And again, be true to yourself. It is not like I gave one contest today and I'll take a break for 2 weeks, and then I give another contest and I take a break for 2 weeks. So you need to be true to yourself, that yes, I'm actually feeling burnt out and I need a break. So you can take a break. You deserve it, and you take a break, come back more fresher next time, and it will definitely help you. You don't need to fall into the guilt trap that I should not take a break. If I take a break, I will lose all my ability. So that is not going to happen. Yes, it will happen if you take a very long break, let's say 2, 3 weeks. You just did not open your laptop, you did not open Code Forces or any platform that you practice on, and you completely stopped doing competitive programming. Yes, over a accumulation of few weeks, it will hamper your problem solving ability. But not giving contests if you're feeling burnt out for a few days will not hamper you. Instead, it will make you feel fresher and you will be able to perform better. That's my view on it. Your view might differ, but that's the beauty of opinions. You can have a lot of opinions about the same thing, and none of them may be wrong. So it again depends on you. It is a personal thing, but I would suggest you to think about it and acted accordingly. So this was all. There are a few more tips that I would like to share with you, but I think you might have some doubts of your own, in which I would be able to uh, plug in those tips. So I would suggest that now is the time that you ask your doubts. Uh, so yes, it is Q&A time, and you can feel free to unmute your mic, or if you're unmuting your mic, just see that you're doing it one by one so that it does not become a mess. Otherwise, you can also write in chat, and I will be reading the chat thoroughly, and I will answer the questions there as well. So you can ask your doubts, and I will be really happy to solve them.
I
Hello,
have a quick
Bhaiya. Am
question.
I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Bhaiya, how can I practice more without burnout? I'm only able to do 4 or 5 problems in the whole day.
Okay. So what I used to do is, first of all, I would say that people have written some questions on chat. I have seen them, so I'll answer them. So first I'll answer this. So what I used to do was I used to allot a specific time. So for me, it was that, let's say I have been doing this set of rating problems uh, for the past 2 weeks. So let's say I am on 1200 problems and I have been doing 1200 from past 2 weeks. So now I should be a bit comfortable in doing 1200 problems. So now I would say I would allot only 45 minutes to solve this problem, not more than 45 minutes. If I am able to code it in 45 minutes, or if I'm able to come up with a valid solution in 45 minutes, then I would proceed, code it, submit it, and then move to the next problem. But even after 45 minutes, I'm completely blank. Then you have two options. Either you can leave the problem and come back on a later date, or you can see the tutorial. And most of the tutorials now have step by step. So they have hint one, hint two, maybe hint three, then the solution, then the code. So I would suggest just see the hint one, then try to work on it for 5-10 minutes. If still you are blank, go to the hint two, 5-10 minutes. Again, if you're not able to come up with the solution, then see the tutorial. Don't see the code, because the biggest judge of did you understand the solution correctly is that if you are able to implement it without seeing the code. So sometimes you may feel that yes, I understood the solution, but then when you start coding it, you're facing a lot of difficulties. So that means you did not understand the solution properly, and you need to work on it more. So I would not suggest you to look on code. If even after seeing the tutorial, you're not able to code it properly, I would suggest to leave this problem aside for a few days or a few weeks, and then come back to it on a later date. And then you might be able to come up with a newer approach, a fresher mind. And in the present as well, it saves a lot of time, because you are allotting a different amount of time. So you can guarantee that you can solve these many problems in a day, and a single problem won't eat a majority of your day. And I would say that if you are doing challenging level problems, let's say you find that rating challenging, 4 to 5 questions is good enough. If the rating is challenging, it's not like you're rated 1200 and you're solving 100,000, 5,000 rated problems, and you're that is just lying to yourself, and you're not working properly. So again, the best measure of what the problem rating should be in practice is around plus 100 to plus 200 of your contest rating. So if you are rated 1100 or 1200 on code forces, try to practice 1300, 1400 rated problems. So that will
Bhaiya,
help you improve. Yes.
Bhaiya, most of the time when I solving the problem, actually only
Yes.
4 or 5 minutes I'm thinking actively. Then nothing will going in my mind or not on paper, and most of the time passes in like a passive way. I'm not thinking about the problem. I'm just looking at the problem. Then how I
Yes.
can reduce this time?
So that happens. So what happens is you get stuck with the approach, and then you're not able to come up with a newer approach. So that again, you need to train yourself. That that is mental conditioning, nothing else. That if you are feeling, so 5 minutes is a very less time. Even if your approach is correct, you need to prove it. Sometimes you need to think for a higher amount of time to prove it. So 5 minutes is not a good judge. Let's say 15 minutes. After 15 minutes also, you are not able to come up with a proper solution, and you're just stuck now. You're not able to think of anything else. So what you can do is take a new sheet of paper, try to relax for 2 minutes and forget everything, all the observations that you made. Start from step one, read the problem statement again, read the constraints again, see the test cases again. Act as if you're looking at the problem for the first time again. And that sometimes may help you to get a new approach. And again, if you're not able to come up with a new approach, leave the problem aside for some time, go to some other problem, solve it. And most of the times when you come back, you will be able to get a new approach quite easily. So that was what I used to do. But at the same time, you need to train your mind to leave some approach aside if you're not able to go forward with it, because this might also happen with you during contest. So if during contest you're stuck with an approach, then uh, just moving forward with another question won't doesn't help all the time. So you need to train yourself to just leave an approach aside. Okay, I spent 15 minutes, now I'm completely blank. This approach is not going forward. I will read the problem statement again, start over all over again, and try to come up with a newer approach, which is different from the previous one. So that again comes with practice. The first 2 to 3 months are the hardest in competitive programming. I would say that if you are able to like go through these 3 months, then it becomes easier and easier, because then it becomes a habit. Now it is kind of, you're forcing yourself to do competitive programming for the first few weeks, but after a few months it becomes a habit, and naturally you want to do more problems, so it becomes easier. So I hope that
Uh,
answers your doubt.
I have one more
Hi,
question.
Aniket. I have a question. So I
Yeah.
have been doing competitive coding for quite like for a couple of weeks now. But what I figured out
Yes.
is that even if I get the logic right, sometimes
Yeah.
the pre-test fails. But the idea is that we don't get to see the inputs that are passed for the
Yes.
pre-test. So is there a
मोदी
way
वाला
how to we
है,
can
भोसड़ी
debug
वाला।
that?
चलो नेक्स्ट चलते हैं।
Uh, why are so many
Like
people unmuted?
if
Just a second, I will
if
answer it
you
out. Let me
sure, sure.
mute all these people. Yes. So I got it out. So I think
Got
you
it.
are asking, I missed the last part. I think you are asking that is there a way to see the test cases that you got wrong on
Uh,
during contest? Is that what you're
The
asking?
question the question is how do you debug in case of your in case you see a
Yes.
pre-test failure? Yeah.
Yes. So first thing is what you do during practice is what you do during contest. So don't see the failed test case even during practice. Treat it like a contest. Now comes the part, how do you debug without seeing the test case? So the first part is your logic correct? So have you proved your logic? If yes, that means you need to check your implementation and edge cases. So for checking an edge case, go through the problem statement again, try to find all those corner cases which might be hidden or which you might have missed. So what you do is you drive on your algorithm, try to see which parts did you miss or which parts were you not incorporating within your loops, and you had to take care of it separately. Let's say you had to take care of 2 or 3 cases separately, and for rest of the cases you ran a loop. So write all of them down and now check, am I including all those cases? So if your logic is correct, most of the times it's an edge case missing. Now, if you see that there is no edge case missing, the next step is going through implementation, because sometimes there may be a silly mistake in your implementation. So again, if your implementation is very huge and you have got the time, I would suggest remove all the code, start coding again. But if the code is manageable, let's say within 100 lines, within 120, 130 lines, so you can go through the code again and go step by step, and always keep in mind what I want to do and what is happening. So I want to initialize all the values in this array by 1. Is that happening? Again, I want to run the loop from n minus 1 to 1, let's say, not till 0. So is that happening? Am I missing some am I going out of bounds? So because that happens a lot of times, that your local compiler sometimes handles out of bounds on its own in vectors especially, so it won't show you an error. But once you run it on code forces, uh, it gives you an error. So always take care of that there are no out of bounds. There are no, let's say, uninitialized variables where, let's say, you made an array, you made a local array, and you forgot to initialize it with some values, and then you're accessing some part, and then, let's say, in a local compiler, it was working fine, but then while you submitted it on code forces, it stopped working. So those are the most common errors. Mostly I do this only, going step by step. First logic, then edge cases, and then implementation. This is how I try to debug my solution.
But I have one question that means for the last 15 months, I have been doing lead code and I have solved nearly 400 questions with pure consistency. But the point is,
Okay.
from last 2-3 weeks, I started CP, but I only able to solve one questions of any division. Even if yesterday, 2 days back, I gave D4, but not at all I was able to think on second or third problem. And same time,
Okay.
if I attend the lead code contest as well, even though I have done 400 questions on lead code, I will able to solve only first or second problem. And the point is,
Okay.
I'm not at all growing in contest on any platform.
So could you tell me what is the distribution of the problems that you have solved? So easy, medium, hard, could you give the distribution of the 400 problems
Yes, I have
approximately?
nearly 250 or 257 medium, 190 easy, and 40 hard.
Okay. So your distribution seems fine. There's not an issue with that. Uh, what I could say is it could be one or two things. First thing is that you're new to code forces. So that might take some time, and after some time, you might grow. The second thing could be, again, burnout, that you have practiced a lot of problems, you have done a lot of medium problems. So on lead code also, if you have done around, as you said, 250 medium problems, so you would be able to solve around 2 to 3 problems in lead code. If you're not able to, it could mean that there was some burnout. Here I'm assuming that all those problems you solve that without seeing the tutorial, and in practice you are able to solve them consistently. So if you are able to solve them consistently in practice and not in contest, that could be also because of nervousness, that you get nervous, your brain stops working in contest, you are only able to solve the first problem, you are not able to solve the second problem, and again it creates a kind of a positive feedback loop, that you are not able to solve a problem, it causes you to panic, and then because of panic you're again not able to solve that problem, and that loop goes on and on. So it could be any of those three things. Again, you are the best judge, that are you getting nervous? If you're getting nervous, that means, as I discussed, uh, try to relax, try to do some breathing exercises before the contest to control your heartbeat so that you don't panic. And if it is not about nervousness, then are you feeling burnt out, that you're not able to think properly in contest, you're just feeling too tired always? So it could be that. Otherwise, it could be that you have just started your CP journey, and it happens with a lot of people that when they move from DSA to CP, they find it quite hard to adjust to it. So it might take some time. Just keep practicing. I would suggest in the initial stages, practice more, give contest less. Because anyway, if you are not practicing enough, you won't be able to solve more than 1 or 2 problems in any division. So practice more, get to a level where you are able to practice at least 900,000 problems on code forces consistently. And when you reach that level, then you can move on to giving contests also side by side, because at that time you will be able to manage it better. Because again, if you're not practicing enough, just giving contests, the disappointment that you get by not performing well also hampers your growth. So that is always a factor. So I would suggest you to practice more, and it takes time. Every anything good takes time, and it happens with a lot of people. So it does not mean that it will not grow. It is just that everyone has a separate learning curve. So for me as well, for a lot of time, I was stuck in the pupil range, in the 1300 range. And once I got out of that range, I quickly move on to the expert. So I was for a very less time in the specialist phase. And for some people, they quickly moved on to the specialist phase, and then they took a lot of time to go to expert. So it
So then while
happens. Everyone's journey is different.
while practicing for CP, should I practice it topic wise or go for the random, especially for CP?
For the initial stages, like below 1000 rating, there is no actual meaning of topics because everything is just maths, STL, or at max binary search. So you
Right.
don't do topic wise till 1000, 1100, or even 1200. Just solve it without using any topic tags. After 1300 or 1400, you can start using tags like binary search, or after 1500 you can say DP or graphs. So after that it makes sense. Till 1200 it does not really make much sense to do topic wise practicing because there are not a lot of topics in that problem range.
Sir,
Excuse me,
actually,
sir.
Yeah, Lakshan.
sir, actually, I am in
You're
third year
not.
of college. Hello.
Yeah, you're
Sir,
audible.
I'm in third year of college and I started doing DSA like 6 months before, and I have done
Okay.
around 150, 180 questions. I'm pretty good at lead code contest. I usually solve 3 questions in a contest regularly. I One time I got TLE in 4th question. I've never done all 4 questions in a contest, but yes, sir, my doubt is I have done DSA till like I'm very good till trees, but I have not practiced enough of graphs and DP. And I've recently started my competitive journey. So I was wondering that whether I should focus completely on competitive or should I also complete my DSA and do graphs and DP portion, because I don't think I'm ready enough to do graphs and DP on code forces level, but should I do that completely on lead code level and simultaneously?
So what usually happens is the major difference between graphs is the graph problems uh, in lead code are more of algorithm based. So many problems are using Dijkstra or Floyd version, all algorithms like these. But on code forces, it is mainly based on how you can manipulate BFS and DFS effectively. So that is the main difference. Again, the data structure is the same. So that won't make a much of a difference. And for DP, the major difference is the lead code DP is usually recursive DP. So you write recursive DP, it usually gets accepted. But for uh, the code forces DP, you have to make some optimizations. So people usually suggest iterative ones. So for DP, I would suggest that go with DSA first because that will help you through an easier phase because DP on lead code is easier. So you'll be able to do the standard problems. And once you get the hold of DP there, go to code forces and learn to solve high rated problems there. But for graphs, I would suggest that it is the same thing. Practice on code forces. It does not make a lot of difference. And learn the algorithms side by side as well, because that will help you in DSA. For graphs, I would suggest for CP, go through CP. And for DP, I would suggest go through DSA first, and then you can move on to uh,
So,
code forces DP.
so
That
sir,
would be
I'll do DSA simultaneously, complete my DSA and do CP, and then I'll start only focus on CP, right?
yes. So do it side by side
And sir,
because DP is a very big topic. You won't be able to do it first and then start graphs. So you have to do it simultaneously. So you have to juggle
and
in
sir,
between a bit.
also, yes, sir, and also I've taken like level 2 because I thought like CP is more different than DSA, but then I realized that level 2 is of like not of my use because I already know a lot of those topics. So sir, I'm upgrading to level 3. So I'm asking, should I upgrade to level 4? Because level 4 they are teaching graphs and DP, but level 3 topics like what combinatorics and all, I'm thinking that they are very important for competitive purposes. So sir, should I choose level 3 or level 4?
So again, it depends on you. Are you comfortable with the advanced binary search and all those level 3 topics. So go through the level 3 course. And if you are, I would say, comfortable with most of the topics there, then you can start the level 4. But if again you think that many of the level 3 concepts I'm not familiar with, then I would say you can go through level 3 and then level 4. So it completely depends on you. If you feel that apart from deep in graphs, everything else is more or less covered by me, then yes, you can go to level 4. But if you feel that yes, some things are lagging before DP graphs as well, you can continue with level 3. So that would be my advice.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir,
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, Shan.
What I'm trying to ask is like many a times while I'm solving at least my current level,
Your voice is not clear. Could you repeat again?
I have written my doubt in the chat. If you can read it, because my internet is lagging
Yes,
literally
sure.
here.
Shan, could you just tag your doubt again? I think it has gone up.
Okay.
You can just
Sir,
copy paste it again.
if you are able to hear, I can just.
Sir, can I
Uh,
ask a question?
yeah, let's go for with Shan. Yeah. Uh,
So,
I think your
so,
voice is a bit better now, so you can continue. Yes.
so what I'm trying to ask is like mostly at my current level, while solving like div 2, sometimes I
Shan,
end up with a more overcomplicated
your
solution that
voice is
is
breaking, Shan. I was not able to hear you properly. Just write your doubt in the chat and I'll answer it. There is no issue. Just copy paste it again. I think it went
may I
up.
ask a
So,
question?
yeah, Ayan, just a minute. Ayan, just a minute. Let him, Shan, I'll let me solve Shan's doubt first and then I'll come back to Ayan. No issue. Sometimes I feel I'm overcomplicating the intuition solution than is required, especially due to C's current level. I'll figure out how to cope with these. So this is always an issue with practice. So uh, as you practice more, your stream of thoughts become much more streamlined. So you're able to figure out the optimal way of implementing it or thinking about it as you practice more and more. And there is another thing I would say is there is a technique called golfing. So not the sport golf, but I also read it in a blog by some grandmaster, and he said that golfing is basically a technique where, let's say, you solved a problem. Now go through the codes of legendary grandmasters for that solution, and you will see that they have many more like more intuitive or innovative ways of solving the same problem. Sometimes using the same logic but a different implementation, or sometimes using a different logic. So seeing their code gives you a broader scope of view that yes, I can solve these problems using these methods as well, because usually those people solve the problem using the best way possible. So if you follow their codes after you solve it by yourself, slowly you will develop the habit yourself to solve it in the best way possible and not to divert your mind towards approaches that are not correct.
جاري
So
بتخالف فانا
that is how I
جاري
used to
فانا
do it
خالتي
myself.
ها
Yeah.
please
So
clear this.
I think your doubt is clear now. So Ayan, yes. So Ayan was next.
Sir,
Yeah.
my current rating is 1100, and I want to
Yes.
ask, like in recent contest, there is no tag of difficulty. So, like up to which question I should upsolve, like in div 2 or in div 3?
So at your level, always try to upsolve div to C. So that would be always be beneficial. I would not suggest div to D now because most of the concepts used there, you would not be aware of them. So once you're able to solve div to C's like 10 to 20% of the times or 30% of the times, then I would suggest you to upsolve div to D. But for now, try to upsolve div to C's because div to C's usually their implementation, STL, or binary search. So most of these topics, you are already aware of them or you're currently learning them. So that would be the best way to upsolve div 2Cs. And in div 3s, I would say the fifth problem or the sixth problem. Div 3, you can go far ahead also. You can, until it is a graph or DP problem, you can solve all of them because most of the times div 3s are made for beginners. So sometimes, yes, the last two problems are some advanced topic, let's say graph or DP, but till before that, it is binary search implementation in HTML only. So you can see the tutorial. And if you feel that, yes, this problem is solvable with the current knowledge that I have, you can upsolve it, read the tutorial, try to implement it on your own, and that would be good too.
Sir, I
Thank
would,
you.
sir, may I ask one doubt?
Yeah, Nikunj.
Sir, actually, currently my rating is 850 around, and like I'm mostly able to make A of the contest of Div 2. So currently, I'm trying to focus on that Striver sheet of DSA for basics and fundamentals, and then the CP31 sheet of TLE. I am having a problem in solving 1,900. So what should I do? Like they are kind of like some happens and some not of 900, but 1,000 they are not happening. So what should I do?
So what I used to do is, let's say my current rating is 800. So I would start doing 1,000 problems. And let's say now I was not able to solve 1,000 problems. So I would decrease my practice range by 100. So now from 1,000, I come back to 900. Now, let's say 900, I'm able to solve my problem within 45 to 50 minutes. So I try to do that, keep solving it. And once I see that the time that I take to solve the problem has decreased from 45 minutes to around 30 minutes, 35 minutes. So that means I have started becoming comfortable. So once you become comfortable with the rating range, don't solve it further. Move on to the next rating range. Move on to 1,000 because now you will be able to solve thousands with much more ease. It is not necessary that you'll get thousands very quickly. It might still happen that you're facing some difficulties, but now you'll be able to pick up the pace much faster. So if earlier, after five problems also, you are not able to consistently solve 1,000 problems. Now, after solving a lot of 900 problems, after 5 or 6,000 problems, you'll be able to get a hold of it, and then you will start becoming comfortable in that rating range as well. So
Okay,
I
sir. So
usually suggest around 50 problems. So if you practice around 50 to 60 problems in each rating range, you'll start becoming comfortable with that rating range.
and so then what should be the balance of the Striver DSA sheet? That is like the basics, like they are covering topics like array, binary search, and all that we have seen. So I'm currently doing binary search. So what should be the balance?
So I would suggest that as you're currently attending TLE classes as well, so focus on that what TLE is teaching because managing multiple things at once becomes quite difficult, and that will hamper your practice. So try to keep one learning source and one practice source.
Thank you,
So
sir.
Yes. Am I audible?
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
actually,
Krish.
yes, actually, I covered a lot of concept in DS, like DP graph and all, like binary lifting and all. But and I also practice a lot of question around more than 1,000 problem, including lead code and GFJ and some other platforms. But when it comes to
Okay.
CP and code forces, like so, I'm not able to solve even sometimes 1,200 rated questions or 1,000 rated questions. So currently, from the last 1 month ago, I was started my CP journey. So should I upgrade my level or should I remains in level 2? Because I know almost all the concept, even segment tree and all. So uh, what should I do?
So the thing is, in TLE,
Mhm.
we say that go to level 4 if you're able to solve to ABC consistently. So that's what we suggest. So yes, it happens with a lot of people that they know a lot of concepts, but then they're not able to solve easier problems. So till you're able to solve the easier problems, I would suggest you to focus on the level you're currently in, because if you're not able to solve the div 2 ABCs, then going to the div 2D concept will not really help. If you're not
Yes.
able to solve 200 problems, that means there is something still to be covered in your, let's say, greedy or constructive algorithms, or let's say a bit of binary search, STL. So try to cover it, because as you know a lot of concepts already in the level 4 part, try to get yourself aligned to solving at least 5 problems in Div 2. Try to practice that. So if you are able to solve 1500, 1600 problems in practice till there, then you will be able to consistently solve Div 2 ABC, and then your knowledge regarding the further concepts will help you. So at that point of time, after you're able to solve those first 3 questions, then it will make more sense to join level 4. Before that, it does not make much sense, because if your foundation is not strong, then building on the advanced concepts doesn't help
Yes.
really.
Yes.
So
Actually,
that is
currently
my
I'm
thoughts on that.
yeah. Actually, currently I'm in level two. Okay. So actually, I haven't
Yeah.
practiced a lot mathematical questions because you know in lead
Hmm.
code and GFJ most of the questions are from DSA based and like greedy, DP and all stack queues. So
Yes.
that's why in question rated 1000 and 1100, 900, it's totally related to mathematical question, right? So sometimes, let's say, suppose I have 10 questions. So sometimes I solve 5 or 6 problem correctly in one go. But 3 or 4 question I was not able to solve. It takes around 1.5 hours, like so. And now
So
coming
that
to the
is,
data
I would
structure
say,
question like P and graph and stack queue, I was able to solve a lot of questions. So this is the problem with
hmm.
me.
That is a transitional phase that happens with everyone who shifts from DSA to CP. It is not just you, it happens with everyone. So I would suggest keep practicing. It is a transitional phase that will last for, let's say, at max 2 to 3 weeks more. After that, you will be comfortable in solving. Because the constructive algorithm problems, as you said, they're quite new to people who are doing DSA. So people who are more focused on algorithm based solving usually don't think in that direction. That's why they face difficulties in solving those type of problems. So give it
Yes.
2 3 weeks, and in 2 3 weeks max, you would see your practice range would at least increase by 200 to 300 problem, 300 rating. So if you're solving 1000 rated now, at least 1300, 1400 you'll be solving by end of 3 weeks, because
So should I
your data
revert
structure
in
is strong.
level two only? Huh?
Focus on level 2 now. See
Okay.
what happens after 2 3 weeks. If you feel that yes, now everything in level 2 is done and every problem within the 13 to 400 rating range I'm able to solve very easily, then you can talk with the uh, admin department again, because I'm not sure with the upgradation part. So you can talk with them and let's see what happens. But for now, focus on level 2, because that is more important, that you build your this we say the mathematical intuition. So
Yes. Yes.
all those sorting problems or the greedy problems, those are much more mathematical based. So that comes with practice. So try to build on that, and that will help you to like improve your rating range even in practice and during contest as well. That will help you.
Thanks a lot.
Hello, sir.
Thank you.
May I audio?
Yes.
Sir, almost I use PCDs for absolving.
Yes.
So should I can I rely on PCDs, or should I also see the tutorials?
The thing is, PCDs give you a general description about how to solve the problem. So they discuss the approach and everything. And after listening to the PCDs, after attending the PCDs, if you're able to solve the problem, well and good, there is no issue. But if you're not able to solve the problem again, if it is the implementation part, then that tells you again that you need to work on implementation. But even if you're uh, confused about the logic, let's say you understood the logic in the video, but after coming out of the live session, again you are confused that how does this work, or is this correct, or why is this correct, then refer the tutorial. Because uh, I would suggest that this is a very good habit to focus on written material, because as you go up higher levels, the amount of videos decreases and the amount of written blogs that you have increases. So always have that habit of reading, because reading in computer programming helps a lot. If you read editorials, if you read blogs, that will build a habit. And in the future, when you want to learn advanced topics, the resources are quite less. But legendary grandmasters have written very good blogs about it in the past. So reading them will give you a better understanding. So try to read the tutorials as well. If you are not able to solve the
Sir, I'm
problem,
sir,
just after.
sir, I'm able to solve the problem after listening to the logic, or sometimes I listen a part of the logic and I get the question and I solve it. So, but still, should I see the tutorial?
Yes, you can refer the tutorial. Sometimes it happens that tutorials have a specific trick or they have a different logic altogether. So you can refer them. And sometimes what I used to do was I used to read the comments tutorial as well, because some people share new approaches that, hey, I was able to solve this problem in a better time complexity, or let's say in the same time complexity, but using another data structure. So it happens. You can read the tutorial. See, as I said, the problems that you have solved, even looking at other codes or tutorials helps you a lot. It is never a bad thing to learn a newer approach, because in the future it may help you. So it never does harm. You can read it. There's no issue. But focus on practicing as well. It should not happen that you're spending hours and hours on tutorials and not practicing enough. Maintain a balance with that. And reading tutorials is a very good habit. You can build it, because
So I,
reading material is much better than in the long run than videos.
thank you, sir. I have
Yes.
another question. Sir,
Yeah.
actually, now I'm in level 4. Earlier, I was when I was in level 3. Sometimes, almost in 50% of contest, I used to solve A, B, div 2, A, B, and C. And
Mm.
the div 2 D is mostly generally it is of DP or graph. So I used to
Mm.
leave that question. So, sir, if I don't know the content of the that question, the topic that is used, DP or graph, so should I try to learn that or should I skip that question?
Yeah. Great question. So what I used to do was, let's say there is a question on some topic I don't know. If it's a one-off question, then one-off algorithm. So I would say just leave it. It only came once. There's no issue. But over a span of, let's say, 10 to 15 contests, you saw that this algorithm came three, two or three or more times, then you should consider learning it, because it is quite frequent, and it may happen in the future that again they might repeat the algorithm. So read it. So especially deepening graphs is very good. So after div 2 Cs, almost you are guaranteed to have a DP graph problem in the rest part of the contest. So DP graphs is mandatory if you are able to solve div 2 ABC. And there are some other advanced topics as well that may come in div 2Ds, which are very rare. Let's say segmentary or something. So uh, in level 4, they're already teaching segmentaries. So you can leave it for the future, that when they will teach me segmentaries in TLE, I will read it then. But DP graphs, you can start learning. So I think in level 4 already DP has started. So you can start learning there. And graphs will also start soon. And if you want to start earlier as well, graphs, you can do that. You can read some material, read some blogs. There's no issue in having a head start. And then when classes for graph starts, you can uh, attend that as well. And because you have already a basic understanding of graphs and trees, it will help you there also to understand it quickly. So there is no issue.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So some people were like asking, will we get recordings or something? So yes, the session is recorded. So I have recorded the session, and I think you will get the recording with this. You can contact the managers regarding this. They will know better. The YouTube part, I'm not sure, because that is not my field actually. Again, you can ask the managers, because they will have a better idea about what this recording and where this recording is getting uploaded on. So I think this will be shared with you, but the YouTube part, I'm not sure. So you can contact them and they will know it better.
Hello, Aniket. Is it a fact
Yeah.
or myth that if we solve some 40 to 50 problems in a rating, that we can get the perfection in that certain rating?
So for easier rating ranges, it is true, 800, 900, 1000. But once you come to 1600, 1700, that is completely not true, because the amount of topics that you have in a 1600 or 1700 rating range are huge. For 1000 rating range, At max, you have STL, greedy maths, or binary search. But in 1600, you have binary search, you have DP, you have greedy, you have implementation based, you have combinatorics based. So a lot of different topics. So 50 problems won't be able to cover all those topics perfectly. So it depends. So the measure for me is, on an average, how much time are you taking to solve a problem? So solve 10 problems in that rating range and take the average. If the average is around 30 minutes or lesser, that means that you're comfortable with this rating range and you can move forward. So there is not an absolute number with the number of problems that you need to solve, but the time that you need to the time that you take to solve the problem on an average is a much better measure of knowing whether you are good to go for the next rating range or not.
Sir,
Yeah, Abhishek.
sir, sir, how shall I beat this feeling of being stuck? I mean, I give contests on lead code every Sunday and Saturday. Like suddenly I feel this I am capped at 1400. I can't move forward. Then but I suddenly solve two questions and I am again okay. I can do this. How shall I move forward? The only topics remaining for me are like DP graphs, some advanced topics. If you want to know my
For
complex,
me, it happened with me as well. So for me, it was around the 1350 range, as I said. So I was practicing questions around 600, but my rating was still 1350. It was stuck as 1350. I learned DP graphs, still I was not able to do that because the main part was confidence. That you need to have confidence within yourself that you will be able to solve three questions. If you have that confidence, that will help a lot. Second thing is, again, not getting nervous in contests. You have the ability to solve the problem, but what is hindering you is self-doubt and nervousness. And the third thing is keep practicing. As you keep practicing, someday or the other, you will definitely break that barrier. And believe me, for most people who have a rating barrier early on, they usually blow out of uh, the other barriers. So once you just cross 1400, you will see that you have crossed 1500, 1600 very easily because you know the topics. And at the same time, you should not wait for a rating to increase to a certain level to learn a new concept. Let's say you are done with binary search. You have to be true to yourself that you have done binary search, STL, and all those topics before DP graphs perfectly. If you feel that you have done them, you can start with DP. There is no issue. You don't have to wait to become an expert or a high specialist to start doing DP graphs. You can start them early. And what usually happens in CP is uh, the growth is not consistent. Sometimes the growth is very steep that you solved just 10 problems in this month and your rating increased plus 100. And sometimes you solved 100 questions in this month, but still your rating decreased. So that happens in CP. So there is no perfect time to start anything, and there is not too early or too late. So always, whenever you feel that the prerequisites are clear, you can go forward the topic. There is no issue with that.
this was of lead code, sir, 1400. I was talking. And also when
Yeah,
I look
Abhishek.
at the submissions, no, like let's say I know the only few people have submitted, that builds another pressure. Like I can do
Yeah,
this, I cannot do
yeah.
this.
Mm.
Okay, sir, thank you. I'll try to implement what you said to me. Thank you so much.
Uh, yeah, okay. So I have some messages also. So Lakshya is asking to a standard student, an aspirant of Indian Computing Olympiad, tips about CP. Okay. So yeah. So are you talking about IOI, IOI is for international. I think INOI is for Indian things. So like
Yes,
competitions like those.
yes.
So USACO is a very good platform to
I
practice.
am I am
So you can
practicing from there.
Huh. So again, learning advanced topics also helps a lot. So you can start learning about segment trees, or once you have completed DP graphs and bind research, you can move forward with segment trees or Fenwick trees, or like binary lifting and everything. So that helps a lot. And usually in these Olympiad type contests, algorithmic based solving helps a lot, as well as mathematical based questions also help a lot. So try to keep your combinatorics, and sometimes they ask linear algebra, like in matrix exponentiation and some topics like those. You need some linear algebra as well. So try to keep those topics fresh, especially combinatorics, because that helps a lot in some problems. So that would be my general advice. It is a bit different from Code Forces contest, the INOI and IOI, but there are a lot of similarities as well. It is a bit more algorithm based, but again, you don't need to study all the algorithms. If you are good to go with DP graphs and binary search, that covers most of your topics, and you need to practice them thoroughly. And USACO is, I think, one of the best platform to practice for INOI and IOI based competitions. So
Sir, could you repeat the name of the platform?
I didn't get you. Could you repeat again?
Sir, could you repeat the name of the platform?
USACO, USACO.
Thank you, sir.
So
Hello, sir.
if you're not if you're not especially practicing for IOI or INOI, Code Forces is more than enough. But if you like to practice there also, you can do that. There is no issue. And
Hello, sir.
always, just a second. So some people have sent their IDs for review. So I think we can host another session there where we can give you personalized guidance. Otherwise, yes, I will talk with them, with the managers as well. And I'll be sharing a feedback form as well. So please fill that feedback form. I will share it
Hello.
now because just a second.
Am I
I will
audible,
share
sir?
the feedback form. I'll share the feedback form with you so that you can fill it while I share it with you. So just a second, not to go to every file in this meeting. Yes, I have shared this form. For people who are left also, I'll share it with them. And yes, Vishwaraj, you can continue.
So I have not a doubt, but I have to ask, do you know any not one contest, but like ICPC is a thing, but it is when we can participate from particular college team, na? In my particular
Yes.
college, there is not a huge wave of coding culture. They are not more enthusiastic coders. So can you suggest some contest, or I mean, I like what we can say tournaments where we have to we can get learn some things and we can participate as solo or as team, but the team should not be from a particular college or institute. If we are allowed to make a teams from the random open sources or anything like that without a constraint.
Got it. So first thing I would say, like a bit off topic, but if there is not a CP culture in a college, then that gives you a better chance to qualify for regionals, because ICPC regionals, the rule is that if you are in the top 100, top 200 teams, and if you are the first team from your college, first rank team from your college, you can qualify for ICPC regionals. So that is for the first thing. And coming to the other competitions, so for individuals, there used to be Google competitions like hash code. So hash code used to allow team from different colleges as well, but now it is stopped. Same and for individual events, there used to be uh, Kickstart and Code Jam, everything, but that is stopped. For now, I think the biggest one is Meta Hacker Cup. So I think this year it is in the practice round is in September, I think, and the actual rounds are in October, and the registration is currently open. So you can search Meta Hacker Cup online, and you can go to the registration page and register for yourself. So that is a great uh, platform or great competition. And if you rank top 500 in round two, I think, then you also get a T-shirt. So that is also there. So that is a great motivation to participate there. And many companies have their own these type of contests as well. So TCS has that TCS Code Vita. So that also has 3 rounds. So the first round, if you are in the top 1,000, 2,000, I'm not exactly sure, then you can go to the next round, and the second round, if you're in the top 25, then there is uh, on-site round also, which has cash prizes. So that is great because if you get good ranks in those competitions, they're great for resume as well. And the experience there is also quite good. For the team-based, currently I'm not sure if there are any team-based events now. If I get them, sure I'll share with you all. But for individuals, I know that there is Meta Hacker Cup and this Code Vita because I have participated in them. And that's all. That's the major ones, I think.
Thank you, sir. If you ever get anything updated from future, you can you share it on the TLE Discord or server?
Yeah. I'm there on the Discord server. I'll share it with you all.
Thank you, sir. Very much.
My LinkedIn, so you can search. Just a second. I will put the LinkedIn. Everyone. Okay, it's a direct message, so I will reply to you. Yes. So, any other doubts?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, Aryan. Yeah, you're
Yeah, I
audible.
just shared my doubt in the chat. Can you check it?
Yeah, sure. So, Aryan, select the problem which majority has solved in the contest in problem set. It's not really working well. So yes, so for me also I used to do the same thing that like what is the rating range currently that you are practicing?
Yeah, like it's 900,000.
So yeah, 900 to 1000. I think it is a good way to sort the questions by the number of solves and then do them so that you solve the easier ones first. But then the thing is, once you solve the easier ones, you have to also solve the difficult ones also. Because if you just solve the easier ones in the rating range, then that does not justify your practice. So the easier ones are just the stepping stones so that you get a bit comfortable with the train so that you're able to solve the difficult ones. So just don't do that you're able to solve the easier ones in 900 and then you move forward to the 1000 ones. Try to solve the difficult ones as well. And I would share this great tip with you that a 900 rated B problem div to B is much more easier than 900 rated div to A. So always keep that in mind. Same goes for, let's say, a 1300 rated div to B is much more difficult than a 1300 rated div to C. So always keep that in mind that if this is 900 rated and it has come in a div to A, that means it is much more difficult than a 900 rated problem which came in div to B. So you can solve them using this technique as well. It takes a bit more time because there's not a single good way to do it, but then you can go forward with it and it's not an issue. Keep practicing. And as I said, the starting range is 800, 900,000. It is a bit difficult because at some point of time you lose motivation and at the same time you don't have the habit of practicing. So it becomes difficult. But as soon as you pass this phase, you will realize that things do start getting easier and you will be able to get better and better as you move forward.
Yeah, the same thing has happened with me. Like I'm not able to get out of the 800 to 1000 zone and kind of feel demotivated.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
I'm
so
yeah, like I'm like struggling with math problem for like 900,000. Like for GCD and stuff. So yeah, do you have any advice?
uh, just wait a second. I had one great blog for maths. So it was written by Indian guy only. I think I will have that if I get that blog. So what you do is you search in Google that math blogs. So you can refer any blog from any master or higher. So in a single blog, they have written all the tricks that you need to know for each level, approximately each level. So if you need to know any bit manipulation or GCDs or combinatorics, all the basic ones are or probability. So all those are shared in that. So you can refer those blogs. Currently, I'm not able to find it. If I find them, I'll share it with you. So just a second. Maths. Math. There is no math. Bit.
Can you also share your
That is
portfolio
a
profile?
weird. Yeah, sure. Just a second. I'll share it here. So this is my portfolio profile. From 800 rated, how to improve maths logic and TLE complication. So the maths logic is again go back to your 11, 12 days. You won't require much more maths than that. Then you study for your JE. So the basic combinatorics is enough. And then the GCD part is also enough in some cases. There are some algorithms like the Euclidean GCD algorithm, which you might need to know. That you can read from any blogs from GFG or from Code Forces, and that should be enough for the beginner level till about 1400, 1500 also. Basic combinatorics, GCD and bit manipulation is all you need. Nothing more than that.
Bhaiya, I have sent my dot in chat.
What's your name?
Ayush.
Ayush. Ayush Kumar. Okay. Can you please tell me how to approach the problem sheet as older contests have? So this has been a trend that newer problems uh, tend to get harder. So what you can do is you can always sort the problems in the problem set in two ways. One is based on rating and one is based on recency. So on the left hand side, if you click there, like on the right hand side, you click on the rating part to sort them. Once for decreasing and once for increasing. For the same goes with the left hand side. If you click once, it will show you the recent to oldest. So try to solve the recent ones, and then that would help you. Try to solve the recent ones more because it always follows a pattern. So div 2 A's are similar. They're based on similar concepts, mostly math or observation or some greedy concept. So once you solve them, it gets easier. Also, what you can do is you can start solving in the reverse way. Try to solve the most difficult 818 problems. And if you're able to solve the most difficult 818 problems, go to the most difficult 918 problems. So it goes in that way. So you can swap and try within yourselves, whatever works for you best. Because in competitive programming, there is not a single way that suits everyone. So for everyone, it's different. So you need to try out different ways, see what works out for you the best, and then stick with it. So that would be my advice.
Okay, bhaiya,
Yes,
thank you.
Bhushan. I think the meeting will automatically end at 10 o'clock because it was scheduled for 8 to
Hello.
10. So I can take one last doubt if anybody has.
I have one doubt that means my rating is between 9 to 1000, but when I am practicing questions, I was able to solve 1100, 1200 problems. It may take some time, means half hour, 45 minutes. It takes time, but I was able to solve. But whenever I participate in constant contest, it's B, C problems. When it came C on front problems in Div 2, sometimes it is like that I know the solution, but I don't know why I was not able to implement that thing in the contest. But when last contest only, in the contest I was trying one problem hard, it was not getting solved by me. I had given it 1.5 hour, some C problem it was. I was stuck on that. But after the contest, I could take a break. I searched something on Discord. Then at 12 o'clock something, I tried to solve the contest on same thing problem on VS Code. I solved it within 20 minutes. So why it is happening that it is not first time. It is means becoming a habit like thing for me. I was not.
So again, I have discussed it earlier also. So the main culprits for this are you're getting tensed and you're overthinking because it is in a contest. So you're overthinking that is my expression correct? Is it this? Is it that? Because of that overthinking, you're missing out on the solution or you're getting tensed. So I would suggest you to give virtual contests. Once you give virtual contests, you will get used to the pressure of the clock ticking, and then you'll be able to perform better. So that is happens with everyone because they get tensed. So that reduces as you practice and as you give virtual contests. So those are the top two most things that you can do to improve yourselves. And somebody asked me how to pick problems for 1600 to 1900 rated range. So what I do is 1600 to 1900 rating range. You can actually set topic tags because there are a lot of topics that you can study. So what I do is for some problems, for a few problems in the starting, like for the first 50, 60 problems, I do topic wise. So these many for graphs, these many for DP, these many for binary search. And then I hide all the tags and then I randomly try to solve them. So that is how I pick in that rating range. And I began CP in the last question. This is the last question. June this year, currently pupil enrolled in level 3, spending 5 to 8 hours getting ICPC and IIT Durgapur. There is no CM experts is possible. So yes, it is always possible for you to qualify for ICPC. It may take time, but don't get demotivated. If I share my story, I did not qualify in the first year. I did not qualify in the second year as well, even though I was an expert. But then I qualified in the third year. So keep doing CP, keep practicing, and just wait for the right time. So uh, when it is your time, just shine there, have a good friend group, and try to make a good team. It's not necessary that you need to make a team with highest rated people in your college. Try to make a team where the people's traits are complementing you. So if you are good at some topic and you're bad at some topic, try to find a teammate who is good at the topic where you're bad at. So you can uh, work parallelly. So if you are good at some topic, you will solve that problem. If somebody else is good at some other topic, he can solve that problem. So you can balance each other out and it will work perfectly fine. So keep belief in yourself and everything is possible. So somebody asked me 800 rated, should I give Div 3 virtual contest or solve TLE 31? Do both. Because if you are practicing, virtual contest will serve you two purposes. First, it will help you practice, and second, it will give you an experience of the time pressure. So that is always beneficial. So you can do both. There is no issue. So I think the last minute is up. Fill the feedback form, and I hope you liked the session. It was really great interacting with you. Should I give div 1 plus div 2 1000 rated? Yes, you can, but I won't suggest you for now because div 1 plus div 2 you'll be able to solve only one or two. So it demotivates you. So try to become approx pupil side, and then you can really enjoy the div 1 div 2 because the C in div 1 div 2 is a bit easier when compared to only div 2 because there are a lot more problems. So once you are a pupil or above, so you will have actually a chance to solve div 1 plus div 2 C. So that will give you motivation. So try to go to that range and you will feel better. Thank you, everyone. Bye. And that's all from my side. Thank you.